Should my child memorize sight words? That's one of the most asked questions I get from parents trying to help their young readers. And my answer? Yes and no. Let me explain. Sight words, power words, red words, heart words, whatever your child's curriculum calls them, they're high-frequency words that children are exposed to over and over again as they're learning to read. But this is where the confusion comes in. Most of those words have phonics patterns that children have not been exposed to yet and are not capable of reading them independently. So instead of memorizing a stack of flashcards, here's how I like to break down those high-frequency words students are expected to handle at a young age. For example, take the word have. Instead of having a child memorize this word, we can break it down and explain the patterns to them. A child in kindergarten has probably learned that H makes the h sound, A, V, have. Now that silent E is there. Why would we put that there? Well, we teach the children no English word ends with a V. If we have a V, we have to add a silent E. Now this word is not a mystery to students, but follows a pattern they can apply. Just like if they wanted to write the word give or live. Memorizing words is not how skilled readers became skilled readers. Our brains use a process called orthographic mapping. That means they're connecting the sounds to the spelling patterns. And eventually, every word becomes a sight word. If I show you this word, do you even have to think about it? No, instantly your brain knows that word, says cat. You didn't have to stop and say k, a, t. Your brain knew. That is considered a sight word for you. Sometimes we don't have a spelling rule necessarily to explain one of our high frequency words to students. This is where the history of the word and etymology can get involved. For example, take the word said. We have 3 sounds, but 4 letters. I can show students S is making its expected sound, S, and D is making its expected sound. The A and the I in the middle are making the short E sound, E. Now that's what we would call the heart part or the tricky part of the word. Now, if I show students the word said, I'm going to point out that AI is making the E sound. And I'm also going to let them know this is because of the history of English. Hundreds of years ago, we actually pronounced the word said more like said. That's why it looks like the spellings of paid or raid or made. In those words, the AI is making the long A sound. We kept the spelling because as English became a written language, our pronunciations were still changing, but we needed the standardized texts so that we could communicate. Now, I don't expect a 6-year-old to remember that we had a history of English, vowel sounds have shifted, but it will help them make sense of this word. Sometimes we have spelling patterns that can help explain high frequency words. Sometimes we can use the history of spelling and pronunciation. All of these things help unlock the code for our young readers and help their brains map out those high frequency words that they're going to encounter more and more frequently. We don't use flashcards alone. We read the word, we break them down, sound them out part by part. We go through each sound, what is expected, what is unexpected. We practice using it orally. Verbally tell me a sentence with those high frequency words. Let me tell you a verbal example. Then we move into practicing spelling and writing with these high frequency words so that students are exposed to them in meaningful ways over and over again. That all helps their brains store the information so that hopefully the next time they encounter that word, they're a little bit more confident in themselves. Because reading isn't about memorizing thousands of words. It's about understanding and being able to apply the code for ourselves. And once students start doing this on their own, they start gaining skills that help them feel confident and capable in their own reading journey. If you need help teaching high frequency words to your child, click the link in the caption and sign up for a free discovery call with me. We can talk about a path to support and a capable, confident reader.